Perfect. Okay, let's go for it then, Anna. I think I've waffled on, so I will introduce you. So we have A Petchell from A Petchell Coaching. Please tell us all about yourself and the wonderful things that you do for crew.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies, so much. And thanks everyone for having me here and having setting this whole thing up. It's such an amazing new event and platform that we can have for crew going through this time, and something that hasn't really ever existed before. So it's really exciting to be a big part of this, and it's exciting that this is now existing because it didn't exist when I went to leave. So a little brief about me. I am Anna Petchell, and I'm the yachting exit strategy coach from A Petchell Coaching, and a little bit about why I'm doing what I'm doing. It kind of all came from after 8 years in the industry. When I went to leave, I really struggled to know where to go or what to do. And it was quite a big change from being in the industry where you are so niched into doing what you're doing, and then you go to leave and it's kind of this big wide world and you're starting all over again. And I found that there was a lack of support at that end of the industry. And when you come to get into the industry, there's a lot of support. When you're during the industry, there's support, and you go to leave and it's kind of like jumping off a cliff edge and there's no support there. And so I found that was a real struggle. And so going through that, I also didn't really know, how do I use my skills and my strengths and all these things that I've learned in the industry? Well, how do those actually apply outside of the industry? And how do I use my skills, of varnishing and all these other things? How do I use those somewhere else? And what I found was that going through, I finally talked to a coach, and I had talked to so many other people, and I don't know about anyone else, but I'd done all this research and I wasn't really getting anywhere. I was just getting these kind of blank answers, and no one that really understood, talking to career advisors and transition coaches, and no one kind of got what yachting was. And then through that, I found that what I loved doing was coaching and mentoring and training and supporting other crew. And it kind of felt like a bit perfect space, because there was a space that needed support and it needed to be filled. So that kind of was a birthplace of what I'm doing now. And through that, what I did was I wanted to really make sure I took people through the right sort of stages. So I went and trained as a coach, and then I trained as a career transition coach. And then through that, I really wanted to make sure that people got the best support going through that. So I created the exit strategy program, and that's taken from a tried and tested program already. And I've kind of adapted it for yacht crew, because I think, we are amazing people, but we need to be sort of catered to in a slightly different way, because we are busy and things work slightly differently. So I have a slide that, if you are listening on the radio, you won't be able to see this, but I should be able to show you if you are here watching. So the yachting exit strategy plan and program works in 3 phases. And so the first phase is the discover phase, and that's where you discover your inner compass and who you truly are. And I think it's really hard to go through life if we don't really know who we are. So you get really clear on those things, like your strengths and your values and all the skills that you're really good at. And within this, you start to find what you value, because I think for a long time we don't actually know what we truly value and what we're truly good at, and we're doing all these things without really knowing it. So that first phase is really about discovering you. And by the end of it, you get really clear on who you are. In this phase, a lot of people get to the end of this and they actually have a completely different outlook of who they are. They come in, no knowledge, and then by the time they get to the end, completely transformed. So that's the first phase. And then the second phase is exploring all the different things that you've ever been interested in. And you start to kind of pull apart these and see the general work themes that are underneath them. And so there'll be reoccurring things, and it's so interesting because everyone you work with is so different. And even though we all come from the same sort of background and what we're doing in the job, by the time we actually get to doing this, we realize how different we all are. So when you start to explore all these different things, you start to realize, oh, well, I'm really interested in this sort of thing or this sort of thing. And then we sort of expand it out again. And by the end of that phase, you'll have a real clear idea of where you're wanting to go and sort of 3 different ideas that we can explore further. And then you compare it back to the first phase of who you are and who you've got a clear idea of what that looks like. And then you can kind of match up what's going to look good for me in the future. And then the final phase is the plan phase. That's kind of okay, this is where I am now. This is what I want to get to. How does that, what do I need to do to break that down to get there? And that might be that it's a long-term goal and you might be planning on staying in the industry for a couple more years, or it might be a shorter term thing and you might be planning on leaving, or you might have already left. And wherever you're at is absolutely fine. It's very flexible. So that's kind of how it works. The 3 phases that you go through. And it's quite exciting because people come through it and you have no idea at the start what you're going to get out at the end. So that's kind of cool. So what you're going to gain from this is a real clear sense of who you are and where you're wanting to go. And by the end of this, you'll go and have that clarity. You also start to get a sense of direction and purpose and be on a path to achieving what you're wanting, whether it is in the next few weeks, years, whatever it looks like to you. You also start to gain a sense of yourself and value who you are. We go through this industry, and like Sarrah was saying, you go through and we do all this training and all this skill, all these things that we learn on these experiences that we have. And I don't think sometimes we really value that quite enough. And then to go into something else and leave that behind sometimes seems like a bit of a waste, but actually there's so much value in what you've done that it would be a shame to kind of turn it away and go and forget about it. So yeah, you get a really good sense of who you are. And one of the big things I think is that you get a sense that you're not stuck and you don't have to be stuck, and you can have options to go to. Because I know that was a really big thing for me, is I felt stuck because I couldn't think of what else to do. So I kind of felt stuck where I was. And then you overcome some of these ideas that hold you back. And that is something that this program really gives you. And just working with someone else really helps you progress through that sort of stuff. And the final thing is you start to live in alignment with who you are and where you're wanting to go, rather than just, I saw so many, when I was going through the industry, I saw so many stewardesses and stuff leave, and they'd try and do something that replicated what they were doing outside to what they were doing inside. And actually it didn't work, because it wasn't actually who they were and who they were wanting to be. They were just sort of copying something else. So I thought, yeah, when you start to work out who you are, it's a lot easier to go somewhere in life. So what do I offer? Well, what I've just told you now is all about my signature thing. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. I love to explore. I love to investigate, get curious, see what we can come up with. It's kind of a fun process. The next thing is group coaching. So that's really amazing. You really get a lot of power through working with other people, and that's where you get really clear on that first part, that discovering your inner compass. And that can be done, you know, with all around the world. I've got a group at the moment, they're scattered all around the world. So however that works, I'm running another one in October. So if you're keen, then yeah, definitely jump on board. At the moment, I'm doing workshops, and these are online workshops. But in the future, I'm hoping to do these in person in Fort Lauderdale, in Antibes, Palma, Barcelona, and really get clear on what your future looks like and what you would like your future to look like. Because sometimes when you're on the boat, it's really hard to work out what that even wants to look like, what you want it to look like. So yeah, that's really fun, and I'm creating some ones at the moment. So those will be really cool when we get them up and running. And as well as that, at the moment, I am in the process of setting up an online program, and that means that you can work on all this stuff while you're still on the boat, and while you're still busy, you can take time out to do this. And the next thing is, if you are not already, please do join my Yachting Exit Strategy group on Facebook. And this is a really good support network for you and all other people who are going through the program, who are not going through, who are leaving the industry, who have already left. It's a really good support for all that. You obviously can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those places, A Petchell Coaching, find me there. And I also offer coaching and mentoring, especially to female yacht crew, female deck crew especially, because that's where I came from and that's my kind of background. So that's my offerings. And then I just want to, the things I've identified, there's kind of 6 big pillars that people tend to feel, and I've found are the biggest pain to people leaving the industry. And the first one is the fear of unknown and not knowing what to do next. And it makes sense. It's okay to be in that state, and it's okay to not know where to go or what to do. The thing that I could say and offer advice right now is to start researching and start seeking out, start talking to other people. If you've got LinkedIn, it's a really good tool and a resource to get on there. And if you've ever been interested, like start looking into industries that might interest you. Or if there's a type of job that you think is interesting, start looking up people that do that sort of thing and start just getting curious. If you think about how, you know, people are often willing to tell you, they're willing to give you advice or help you out, especially when you're starting. Even if you think about that first time, say you get a green crew member on board and you say, hey, best probably not to touch the stainless or the windows. For you, it's something that's kind of, you know, normal behavior now that you just don't do that. But for them, that's like a golden piece of nugget that will just help them a long way in the industry. So something as small as that, think about that when you're going into talking to someone else. Those little bits of information can really help you out. So the other thing is networking. We all know how much our networks really help us out. You know, how many times have you been in, how many times have you got a job through your network as opposed to through a crew agent or the traditional streams? Usually it comes from people you know. So the more you start, you know, reaching out and talking to new people and talking to different people, I promise you this is a big one. Yeah, really get contacts with new people that are interesting to you, or just start asking them questions. The next thing, yeah, with action creates clarity. So that's a really big, you know, thing to take away. The second area, I think, is people are often so unsure of how your skills will cross-relate over. And it does make sense. We are in a very niche industry, and sometimes it's really hard to see how does this translate into something else. And if you get really curious and start looking into, okay, so what is this? What do I really enjoy about the job that I'm doing at the moment? And what aspect of it do I really enjoy? And you can start to pull that apart a bit more. So for example, if you were really into, I don't know, running safety meetings or running drills or something, what is it about that interests you? And it might be that it's the team planning, or it might be the organization, or, you know, things like that. And you can start to look at the other skills that you need. And in other industries, you might actually require those same skills. So that's how you kind of start to see how your skills sort of move into a new industry. The next thing that I think that is really important and really key is the fear of not being able to make the same money. How often have you heard that golden handcuffs? I know so many people say that to me, but I'm not going to be able to make the same money. And I get it, but I have talked to so many other career transition coaches, and they have said that pretty much most other industries that they're working with, people are fearing the same thing. So there's different ways to sort of go about this. And one of the first ways is firstly, talk to someone, talk to a financial coach. So Emma's going to be on here next. Talk to someone like that. Start to just get those open communication lines going. start to work out what sort of money do you think that you actually need, because I think we often think that we need a whole lot more than we actually do to live the life that we need or that we want. And it might be that you just need to set aside a certain amount before you leave. It might be that you need to work out exactly what you're going to do before you go out of the industry, and you might want to be holding that off until a bit longer, or it might be just about finding a different stream of income as well. But Emma will shed more light onto that. The next one is being really unsure of yourself, and this I think was probably the biggest thing for me, is when I went to leave, I kind of didn't really know who I was. So it was really hard to work out anything else when I didn't even know who I was in the beginning. So really getting clear on that was a good place to start, and discovering your inner compass is my key to everything these days. Figure out who you are so then you can figure out the next steps after that, and create that self-awareness so that you know when you're going into something else, hey, does this actually line up with who I am? Is this going to make me happy? Am I not going to be so happy doing this? You start to be able to balance that up. The next one is being exhausted and having no time. And I get that. I've been in the industry for a while myself. 8 years, I definitely did not sleep a lot. So when it comes to being exhausted, there are things, even giving yourself as much as, or as little as 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. If you can get that time in, and if it's about journaling or meditation, or even just something as simple as sitting there and being able to have your coffee on your own, you'll start to be able to use your time a bit more effectively and efficiently just by creating that space for yourself. And then the final one is just the fear and the anxiety around leaving. And transition and change can be a scary time, but it doesn't have to be. And it can be also a really exciting time where you are, you know, opening a new chapter and a new door, and there's so many possibilities. But if you are needing things to help you get through that anxiety or the fears, things like breathing techniques and stuff, I can show some of those to you, and just being able to start to consciously be aware of what you need. So my final message around all of this is that everyone is so unique and special and amazing, and we all have things that we're really good at, and that might be one thing, that might be a couple of things, but don't feel like you have to be stuck and you have to stay in something just because you don't know the other options around that. When you start to really get clear on who you are, it's so much easier to work out where you want to go. It's like being a boat at sea. If you don't really know who you are, you can be drifting forever with no real clear direction, and just making that small alteration of your course can really make a difference in the end. And just remembering that also no one size fits all, and you know, just because this worked for one person, it might not work for someone else, and there is no we all start somewhere and we all go to the same place. We're all different, and so yeah, just start to get curious and start to explore your future options. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at and what I do. So I don't know, Titta and Sarrah, are you there still?
We are here.
We are
Wonderful.
here listening to great advice. Thank you very much, Anna. Few questions I had in my mind. Where do your clients come from? So are they people who are planning to leave, or are they people who have already left, or who are they?
Everyone, really. I have some clients at the moment who are planning on staying in the industry a couple more years. So they are, they're all types of crew. I've got chefs, stews, captains, engineers. I have got people who have already left and who now making in new directions. I've got people who are in the transition. I've got some people who are years off and they're thinking of just what am I planning on doing so I can set myself up now.
And also I found extremely interesting, as you know, so I love the education and that's something which is part of my background too. But what I would like to also maybe in the future to look into more is how and what kind of education we could offer and forward to people too with their different skills. Now we are already talking about the hospitality skills, but of course there's a million other skills on board which can be utilized very well on the shore-based jobs. So I think that could be a nice project to do together, to just kind of a think tank and see what we can find out. And if there's anybody else who has great ideas about different parts of education, the yacht crew could continue after their career, so please be in touch. But fantastic, thank you very much, and you're doing a great job, and I think that's definitely what the yachties will need after their life after yachting, if we say so. And so all the best luck for you and for everybody. So please go online to our platform and make a meeting with Anna and have a little chat, and then you will see where it takes you.
Awesome. The one thing I can just say is, if anyone's listening, do not feel like you're on your own. You do not have to do this by yourself. The whole platform is here to support you, and I especially am here to support you in whatever stage you're at. Just make sure you don't feel like you're doing this by yourself, because it's so much easier to do things with the supportive community around you. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I completely agree. We started the day talking about that very thing, the support network, and the fact that we're all in this hugely transient global industry, but actually you make the most solid friends, I think, in this industry. I think working in the extremes that crew especially work in, you become lifelong friends. And similarly with those of us that are now on land or have always been on land and working on the shore side of things, I certainly count some of my greatest friends and supporters within the yachting industry. And I provide services to clients. I'm also a businesswoman, but I also very much go out and get lots of advice and support as well. So whether you're, a captain, a first, second, third officer, or you're working on land or whatever it is, there's somebody in the support network to help us all. And we can always learn something. I think there's several sayings there, isn't there? Mm-hmm. So and yes, just going back to those of you that haven't already registered, the easiest way for you to get involved is to go to the Life After Yachting website, which is www.lifeafteryachting.com, and you can just click the blue button, register to the online portal, and you'll see Anna's lovely face, or Emma's lovely face, who has just joined us. I can see. Good timing, Emma. She'll be on in just a few minutes to talk about our financial planning and lots of other aspects around that. But there's a host of people there, and you can arrange online meetings, video, audio, just connect with each other. The tool helps you to find the best people for your wants and needs, and we're all there for whatever people need. So yes, thank you so much, Anna. We appreciate Anna's over in the other side of the world as well, so we appreciate you navigating the time zone challenges to be here and giving us everything. That presentation was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for having me first. So
we're
wonderful
all
to be.
Remember, yes.